Thank you, Michael. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, George. Just Jim now, please.
Hi, Michael. Michael, 8 games into the championship season, and we see Fulham, Bournemouth, and West Brom up towards the top of the table. How are you beginning to survey the championship, and do you feel that those 3 sides will be in the race for promotion and probably in the top 6 come the end of the season?
Look, I think you always look at the teams that come down as the strongest teams. You know, Sheffield United have a difficult start, but I think they're starting to get a bit of momentum as well. You know, we look at ourselves, we're 4 points off the top. We're, I think, 2 points off second, so we're pleased with this point. The start that we've made, we dropped points in the last game that we're disappointed with, which would have put us in a stronger position. But, you know, the teams who come down are the teams with the most spending power, the teams that are able to pay the most wages. So typically they'll have the strongest squads. So look, this will be a competitive championship. There's a lot of clubs that aspire to get to the next level of football, and certainly we're one of them. But we obviously have to get above the teams that you rightly mentioned at the outset.
And I suppose, Michael, we all know you have a personal close relationship with Grant McCann from your time in Northern Ireland as well. Is it sort of difficult in one sense to prepare for a team like Hull City when you know a manager like Grant McCann so well in terms of that, because he probably knows your thoughts, your perspectives, you probably know about what way he thinks about football as well. Is it sort of, are you prepared for the curveball in many senses?
Well, Grant obviously had, you know, when I took the international job, Grant was still in the squad, so he was a player. It wasn't so much as a coaching aspect. No, so like it won't affect me at all, Grant being the manager. He's a young manager, and I think who's shown already good resilience in his job, because he's, you know, he had a difficult first season at Hull where, you know, they had a really difficult second half of the season and were relegated, and you know, we beat them here, you know, convincingly 5-1 before lockdown. But equally, he's shown his qualities to get the club promoted again and back to the championship. So he knows what's involved, but it won't come into a factor in terms of, you know, if we win the game again 5-1 tomorrow, I'll be delighted. It won't be a case of you know, that a personal relationship having any influence in the game at all, nor will it have for Grant obviously either.
And Michael, lastly for me, I suppose, do you think the learning lessons from last year, where you were so close for 3/4 of the season in terms of it being in and around that sort of playoffs and being in the hunt, you sort of faded towards the end, do you think that experience will help you this year in terms of maintaining that stretch and maintaining that sort of consistency, or do you see it as a whole new championship again, that everyone starts off from a level pegging? Because seeing how well Coventry are doing, for example, this year.
Yeah, I think probably more the latter, to be honest. You know, this is a different team. We've made quite significant changes to the team. For a number of our players last year, they have the experience of, you know, consistently playing in the championship over a sustained period for the first time in their career. They obviously did that in empty stadiums as well. The second half of last season, we had a horrific injury list as well. I think we're better equipped to deal with that this season. We have a much younger squad, a much you know, hungrier squad, I think, in terms of where the players are in their career. And that's, for me, that's really important. You know, if you're not, you know, going to invest really heavily in the team, as we've not been able to do, we've invested, you know, I think strategically and intelligently in the team, then you need players that have that real desire to get to the next level of football. And I think we have, you know, a huge number of them in our building, and we obviously have players who have been there and done it, who are you know, a great influence in the group as well.
And finally for me, Michael, we see the big news in the championship around this week is obviously centred around Derby County. Were you ever in a position in your own career, playing or management career, where you were faced with a possible deduction of points, or a position where you found yourself maybe hands were tied in terms of funds, in terms of spending?
No, not as a player. Certainly, I was fortunate enough that I didn't have to go through that. It was probably something which was less common. Obviously, we didn't really have financial fair play back then, and clearly wages were not anywhere near the level they are now. And from a management point of view, no, I haven't dealt with it. So I have sympathy for the managers. You We didn't begrudge Derby their 3 points last week. They had a very difficult week, a very difficult 24, 48 hours. So, it was a big, massive result for them given the circumstances. And, Wayne's dealing with a very difficult situation there. And for all the managers that have to deal with that, we've dealt with a different situation here where we've had to obviously scale back in a lot of ways. We've had to bring players to the club on much more realistic wages than we were doing previously, and spent a lot less money than what we did previously. But I think the upshot of that is that we have we're in a much more progressive position than what we were previously as well. So, look, the Championship is a very it can be a dangerous place for owners because the aspiration is to obviously get to the next level of football, but you have to be careful, the methods you do to try and achieve that.